It's time for the Sue Ellen Sanders Show. Tonight, an exciting guest in the studio as well. Here's your host, Sue Ellen Sanders.
And actually, it is events. It's events and issues and things of importance to people in St. Lucie County. And I'm really happy to be here today because there is something that is very important coming up. It's not an event per se, as it is an issue, but you will be receiving in your mailbox next week information and voting information for you to vote by mail for a referendum that supports benefits for St. Lucie schools. And I have in the studio today Wayne Gent. He is superintendent of St. Lucie schools. And before you get started, Mr. Gent, I speak a little bit from a combination perspective as somebody who is parent of children in St. Lucie County schools, and also with my teacher hat on, because for 6 years I was a teacher in St. Lucie schools. And it's really time for us to level that playing field, because right now I have watched a lot of teachers leave St. Lucie County to go to neighboring counties, to go to counties in another state. And as much as they love St. Lucie County and they love the kids in St. Lucie County, it's like they're caught between a rock and a hard place. And tell us how Referendum 4 is going to make a difference.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sue Ellen, for allowing me to be on the program, and look forward to educating the public right now, as that's what we do as teachers. But what we do have a referendum that will go out to our registered voters, and at the next on April 3rd, you should, if you're a registered voter, will get a ballot in the mail. Mm-hmm. And we can talk more about that in a moment. But the need is, let me just talk about the need. And Let me start out with a very positive thing. Our district is making some historic strides right now.
It absolutely is.
Our graduation rate has gone from 45th to the top 10. And within that, we're a very diverse district. Our African-American students, Hispanic students, students with disabilities, students on free lunch. Every classification is in the top 10 in the state of Florida. You can't accomplish that without quality teachers and folks in the school centers. And we have no failing schools in the school district for the first time in a long time. And 66% of our schools are A's and B's. We're ranked 22nd out of 67 counties in total academic performance, moving up 20 spots in the last 3 years.
Awesome.
So we're really making a lot of positive gains. And we have a lot of good momentum going. The students benefit from this. Our boys and girls and our young people benefit from having a high-quality teacher in front of them every day. Our core mission is teaching and learning, and what happens in the classroom between the teacher and the student is really the most important thing that happens. But as you mentioned, if we can't keep good teachers or recruit good teachers, then the academic performance of our students will decline, as well as the total, I think, it'll have an adverse effect on our community in general, because of the gains we're making when outside industry wants to come in, and when people want to come in and move into homes. They'll ask, tell us about your schools, and tell us about, are they safe? Tell us about the community itself and the opportunities that are here. And so we just feel like that everything's moving in the right direction, but you've got to have a quality work staff to do that. Florida, unfortunately, is 46th in the nation in teacher salaries. We were 45th until about 2 weeks ago, and a new report came out, and we're 46th. And so even though we're in the middle of our legislative time, and we'll hear a lot of rhetoric and words that will come out of Tallahassee, most of the dollars that come in are really non-flexible dollars that we have, and they go to specific programs. And being 46th in the country in salaries creates a teacher shortage, not only in the state of Florida, but there's a teacher shortage in the nation. In the state of Florida, we're down over 2,000 teachers less than we had this time last year. Mm-hmm. And in St. Lucie County, we fluctuate between 80 to 90 teachers that we're missing, that are not in the classrooms. And so other school districts have seen this, and other school districts and communities and counties went to their voters. 20 have gone to their voters in the last year to
In the state of
in the
Florida
state of
alone?
Florida to raise additional revenues, whether it be for buildings or for security or for teachers. But they're all special, whether half-cent or referendums. All 20 passed. And that showed that those communities valued public education, value what was going on in the schools, and saw the need for additional support. Right here in our backyard, within the range of my voice, Martin County and Palm Beach County passed referendums, which will significantly raise the salaries of their teachers and put us at a major disadvantage to be able to compete with them for that.
Because those are teachers who actually could live in St. Lucie County and travel for work just so they can get higher salaries.
Exactly. And based upon their years of experience, it could be anywhere from, let's talk about Martin County since they're our neighbor. For Martin County, the difference can be between $1,800 to $7,800 a year. If you have 0 to 4 years experience in Martin County, you'll get to $1,800 additional. With 5 to 9 years experience, you'll get $5,000 additional dollars each year. And with over 10 years or 10 plus years experience in Martin County, you'll get $7,800 more a year.
And the percentage of annual income that means for that educator's family can mean the difference between having to work a second job.
Absolutely, and in Palm Beach County, it's very similar, except that with 10 or plus more years, they're going to offer $10,000 more a year. Broward, Miami-Dade, Monroe, Orange County, several other counties across the state are doing something very, very similar. So that puts us in a position for our teachers that they see that, and being so low on the scale as it is, being 46th in the nation, you can't blame them for looking around. Since I've been in the district, we've always tried to focus on the culture of our schools and the climates of our schools and working with our teachers to make sure that they have a say, that their voices are heard, that there's collaboration, because that goes a long way. If you're happy where you're working, you'll stay there. But when there's such a significant difference in the salary itself, that creates some unique challenges for them. We've already lost some folks to this. And so this is, one of the reasons, and the other reason will be safety, which I know we can talk about in a minute, but this is one of the reasons why we would then go to the voters, because if we are successful, we will be able to be competitive with our surrounding counties. And, if we're successful, we would negotiate that with our CTA or our union partners. But the expectation is that we will be competitive and be right in that same ballpark with the other counties.
Let me stop you for just a minute, because I know what I've heard on the streets of people say, well, I don't have kids in the school system, so why should this matter to me? But how we educate our children and who educates our children and our schools are important to people that have children that are not school age too, because it affects every aspect of our community. As you mentioned at the beginning of the show, that's one of the things that people look at when they move here, whether they have school age children or not, is it kind of helps measure the climate.
Right. So if someone doesn't have children, well, let's look at this in a democracy, and let's look globally. These children are our future. These children are our most precious natural resource. I'm an avid boaterman. I'm on the water every chance I get. I'll carry signs to protect the water and keep our water clean and pure, and I do those things. But our most precious natural resource is the boys and girls we have, because that's our future. They're going to be your future responders, first responders. Mm-hmm. They're going to be the folks you'll see in the hospitals taking care of you. They'll be the ones that you'll see at the pharmacy. They'll be the ones that you'll see in businesses, in places, customer service. They'll be serving our nation in the armed forces. They will go into the field of politics. So it's really our next generation that, if we don't have a strong foundation, not only will it lead to for negative things or consequences in our county, but as a country as a whole. So this really represents our future with our most precious resource, our kids.
It does, and you mentioned some of the different careers that they could go in, and of course all of those things all together help make the nation secure, the country, the state, and St. Lucie County, and makes us stronger because as far as recruiting beyond teachers, recruiting businesses to St. Lucie County, that's something that businesses as a whole will look at as well.
Yeah, they want a good workforce, and we work very closely with the Economic Development Council and Pete Tesh. We work very closely with the Chamber of Commerce and Teresa Aronson, knowing that we need to fill whether a kid goes to college or he goes to work right after graduation, we want to make sure that they're prepared. In our high schools, we have programs where students earn industry certifications. And we've really done a remarkable job of that. And this is where kids can go directly into the world of work with not entry-level pay, but they have credentials and qualifications that will bring them in at a higher level. And they support their families, but they provide a service to the community because they are working. And you want to have a high-quality workforce. It also attracts businesses that come in. Those businesses that come in and expand, you've seen what's happening in the tradition. We've seen what's happening down here at the port. Throughout the entire county, we've seen some of the economic growth. And you want to sustain that. But that's only sustainable with a high-quality workforce and a highly educated workforce. And so because of all the positive gains that we're making, I always say, do better schools equal better communities, or do better communities equal better schools? Well, the answer is yes and yes.
And yes, yeah.
They go hand in hand. You really can't have one without the other. But so when you say, well, if I'm retired, why should I support this? Because this will increase the quality of life, not only for them, but for all citizens, for everyone that lives in our county, whether it's economically or socially or whatever area it is or whatever aspect it is. I truly believe this, that it raises the bar for everyone and raises our quality of life, gives us a strong tax base, and and you've seen this in other communities,
right.
and you don't have to look very far to see that.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's important for everyone. I can't tell anybody how to vote. I can only educate. But I was answering your question, that
this is why.
This is why.
This is
that's
it.
the
This
answer.
is it in a nutshell.
And our kids deserve it.
And it's not just even new businesses coming into town that are affected, but businesses, both small mom and pop businesses and larger companies. It raises the level of all of your team and your employees in general. You have a greater, more educated workforce to choose from.
Yeah, it benefits everyone. It benefits every business organization. You can't find somebody that doesn't affect.
And I, of course, agree with that, and I'm glad that you addressed the issue because that's the question that I most hear.
Right.
And you probably do too.
Oh no, we hear that, and I'm a taxpayer, and there's some services that I've never needed. I've never needed fire service. I've never needed.
Knock on wood, right?
Yeah, exactly. Today we'll see what happens on the way home. I have family members in the armed services, that are protecting our nation and serving our nation, and hopefully. They'll never be in harm's way, but they're ready to go if they do. And so we're creating that generation. We're creating our future to protect us, protect our country, to take care of us when we get a little bit older. And that only comes with our youth and adequately training our youth and educating our youth.
It's very true. And so it's the whole community effort and raising the community together. Now, it's not just teacher salaries that referendum 4 is about.
Correct. Just as important, and really more important, is the safety of our students and our staff members in our schools. And everybody's seen the emphasis on school safety based upon the massacre that happened down at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, just a little over a year ago. When that happened, Sheriff Mascara, we did not have officers in our elementary schools at the time. We had officers in our high schools and in our middle schools and our K-8 schools. But because of about 10 years ago when the recession hit, many of the officers were pulled out of the school centers because of budgetary concerns. So Sheriff Mascara stepped up and the next day had officers in all of our school centers at a tremendous really strain on his resources and on his department. And then this year, when school started again, there were some additional dollars that came from the county commission, and we're so grateful for the county commissioners for doing that. And he was able to maintain officers in every one of our campuses, but still at a strain to his It's really not enough, and the dollars that we receive from the state were not enough money to really have an officer in every school. So he's got one in every school, but that's been at a sacrifice to his own department. To give an example, Alapata Flats K-8, which is a school that we're housed in right now because of our building being flooded out and destroyed. The officer that's there is a Marine Patrol officer. Some Marine Patrol trucks out front, so they have one less Marine Patrol officer. So he has one less of a different department, different functions of service and safety and community service to the community, where his resources are strained. If we're successful with this referendum, then we will be able to guarantee that we'll continue to have resource officers on every one of our campus. I believe that offers us the best protection.
And peace of mind for the
Yes,
students and teachers
exactly,
that are there.
and you can talk to them directly on that. But it's important to see that vehicle out front. It's important to see that person,
True.
man or woman, in the on our campuses protecting our students. But they also have another role. Not only are they there to protect, but they build such positive relationships with the kids. And a lot of bad things don't happen because of the relationships that's been developed there. We were stressing, if you see something, say something. And so the students see the officers really in a different set of eyes. And they actually see them as just like they would look at other adults on campus. Like they look at their teachers or their counselors or the cafeteria workers. That's somebody there to help them. That's somebody there to support them. That's somebody that's there that really cares about them. But in the worst case scenario, they're there also to protect them and to take care of them. So it's so important that we have that. There's other options that are out there in the state with security guards and with guardian programs, but to me they don't offer the same level of protection that a school resource officer has on the campus. We don't want our teachers armed. We don't want folks that aren't trained armed. We want a school resource deputy that's been trained, and we think that's our best layer of protection.
Well, teachers have gone through years of training to be able to teach their students, and the resource officers have gone through years of training to be able to serve and protect. And you mentioned just having them visible on campus and what the difference that makes. But a lot of times if you see something, say something, students or parents or teachers or somebody else on campus may not want to make a phone call. They may not want to take a special effort in order to report something because they're not really sure if it's something serious or not. Whereas a lot of times things are just, you think they might be just something offhand every day, but if you see that resource officer in the school every day and you have that relationship with them and you can just mention, hey, by the way, I saw this, and what do you think? You think it could be something? And everything that turned into something major started as something minor.
Well, it does, and it leads into a third area of the referendum itself, and that's with the mental health piece of it. That if we're successful, that we'll be able to have additional dollars then to go towards hiring more guidance counselors, school psychologists, behavioral technicians that work with the students. The challenges and the needs, the behavioral needs and the social emotional needs that our children are bringing to us from at the earliest ages of kindergarten is astounding. And I'll just say that. And that's not a St. Lucie phenomenon. That's a national issue. It's a national issue. And those that work in those fields around the country and right here at home in St. Lucie County see that, and our teachers see that. And so if we're successful with the referendum, we'll be able to get some more support in that area. We have school psychologists that go from school to school that work with children that have some of the most severe needs. We're currently down 5 psychologists because they've left to go to other districts, mainly because of the compensation itself. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to, if successful, to hire on additional folks. The first and best teacher should be the parent. The first and best teacher should be the parent. Unfortunately, that's not the case in this country for a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And we fill that gap. Our teachers step in and fill that role, and our schools fill that role, and community agencies try to fill that role. That's something that's changed. And you say our teachers go to be trained on teaching the specifics, whether I'm teaching kindergarten or I'm teaching geometry in 10th grade or, social studies or civics, whatever it is. But if you can't reach the child because of the challenges that they're facing, it's difficult for them to learn. And so these the mental health, everybody's aware of it. You saw what happened at Parkland and what that kid went through, and
all the warning signs
and all the
and all the
signs that were
steps
there and mistakes that were made and you just it's overwhelming at times. But if we're successful with the referendum, we could get relief in that area as well, and to address that need, which will again support our teachers. It'll support the parents at home. It'll support our community in general, because we do work with so many agencies on behaviors and mental health, and getting them support and getting the parents the support or the family members the support that they need. So this is another really a third aspect of the referendum and where the dollars would go.
And regarding the mental health initiative that you're talking about, of course, with a lot of children, the younger that the challenges are recognized, the easier it may be to fix what is an issue through one way or another. But also something that is, as I said, something small, something not substantial, or something that it just happened because of an incident and the student had a reaction. If they had someone that they could go to, and not to say that they don't have guidance counselors in the school and they don't have people that students can turn to, but the guidance counselors too have a lot of other things on their plate.
Yeah. Well, they and we try to, the school district before I came, and it was a great move, hired like one of the main roles of counselors at the time was the testing, and we're going into testing season.
Yeah.
And so there were some other folks that came in to kind of relieve those duties, and even with what we have right now, it's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's never been enough to really adequately do what they need to do. So hopefully, but this will bring us relief in that area, so that we could meet the needs of the total child, not just the academic needs, but try to work on the social emotional aspects of that, and it's vital. And if you ask any teacher, they'll tell you that. I presented the other day to a group of preschool early providers, and they see these same challenges. Mm-hmm. And they were just all nodding their heads up and down, like, yes, we see that too, for support and help. And
also getting the education out to the providers, no matter whether
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about the pre-K providers all the way up to high school, to educators to be able to recognize what the issues are. Because, again, if there's one child in a class of 25 or 28, that teacher can't focus just on that one child,
Right.
but a mental health counselor can.
Exactly. I'd like to go to one other area.
Let's do it.
Because like I mentioned before, I'm a taxpayer. I pay attention. I don't trust Washington. I don't trust Tallahassee. I recognize that folks sometimes have a distrust of governments. And now one of the questions is, how do I know that what you're saying is true? And how do I know that the dollars that would be generated would go to where they say they're going to go? And on the ballot language itself, it states at the very end of the ballot language that the dollars would be overseen by a citizens advisory group. In fact, I believe the exact language: all funds would be reviewed by a citizens advisory committee. And the Citizens Advisory Committee would be a group of volunteers from the community that would review where the dollars go. We're going to post it on the webpage as well. We're going to make it very simple, because when we say 70% of the dollars will go to teachers, that's where it's going to go, and a percentage, 25%, to our for the school resource officers, to guarantee one in every school. That's where it's going to go, and a percentage that's going to go for mental health. That's where it would go. So that's so important, that there's accountability built in. There's accountability with our school board members, because they're accountable to the public.
Mm-hmm.
I was fortunate enough to be able to work on 3 of these while I was in Palm Beach County. There was never one bit of controversy. Every penny, we had a half-cent sales tax. Every half cent, every penny went to exactly where we said it was going to go, because of this oversight committee. And the citizens can rest assured that this will be a transparent, open process, and that it'll be easy to review, that the dollars go exactly to where we said they would go.
So exactly where you're saying, because of the oversight committee and because of spelling out the language
Exactly.
on the referendum, you can count on the money going to where you need it. So what are some of the other questions you get when you're out in the community? Because I know you've spent a lot of time out in the community, and you have had a lot of
Yeah.
public forums.
There's one that'll come up. Well, what's it mean to me? What's the cost to me as a citizen and taxpayer? And so, really, for the average taxpayer, the average the average homeowner in St. Lucie County, which is really around $175,000 to $200,000 a year. But when you take off your homestead exemptions and those kinds of things, it would be for the average homeowner, single-family home and condo, about $8 a month, which would be approximately $102 a year. That's the average impact on anybody.
That's the bottom line.
Bottom line, about
Yeah.
$8, a little more than $8 a month, and that would be the impact there. The other one is says I wanted to make sure part of the accountability is that this would be for 4 years only, and that it could not be renewed after 4 years without voter approval. So if we're successful and we do a good job with the dollars and we do exactly what we say we're going to do, if you could not renew it without going back to the voters, and then they would have to approve it. And another part of it is, well, why are we going to the voters in the first place? Well, the school board themselves, the 5 board members, don't have the authority to raise an increase in the millage rate. We can only do that through voter approval.
The voters.
Whereas county governments, municipalities like the county commissioners or Port St. Lucie or Fort Pierce, they can make those decisions and increase that, but we have no authority to do that. Thus, the other 20 school districts across the state that have done this, and others are looking at it, and so we don't have any. It's our only alternative to bring in the help and support.
And as you said, in 4 years, taxpayers can assess, make sure that you've done all the things that you said you were going to do, and then vote again to renew it.
Yeah, exactly. And so what our heavy lift right now is to educate the public with what we've done right here within the last few moments, and then if we're successful, I have every confidence in the world that I have no doubt that the district's gonna continue to thrive. We're gonna continue to make the historic gains that we're making, and it would be a great story 4 years from now that folks could look back upon and say, you know what, yeah, they did what they said they're going to do. But that's 4 years. So I'm looking forward this week right now when the ballot will come to all registered voters. It's postage prepaid, so that they get it. All they have to do is fill it out, and you can return it in the mail. Or if you don't trust the mail or you want to hand deliver it, they can take it to the supervisor of elections office over there at the Orange Blossom. And she has 3 other sites across the St. Lucie County Annex in St. Lucie West.
Right.
Over on Walton Road, where you get your driver's license, and I'm not sure if it's open yet, but the tax collector's office in front of Trice Fellowship Church.
But there's no cost to put it back in the mail.
It's prepaid.
Prepaid.
And we did this by design because, number one, it's a special election, and we want to have the most participation in this process. It's democracy.
You don't want to have people put it aside, fill it out, put it aside, and say, "Oh,
Yeah.
wait, when I get a stamp, I'll mail
And one
it."
of the questions is like, well, why are you doing the mail and not do it the traditional way? Well, the traditional way in a special election, you'll have a very, very small. You'll have less than 10% of the people come out to vote on the future of our schools, and so we think that this affords
Sadly.
and so we think this affords the most people the opportunity, no matter which way they go. Which way they vote, to have a say in the future of our schools. It's democracy in action. In the last 2 elections in St. Lucie County, 70% of the people voted early. And that's going to be the trend that you're going to see more and more anyway in the future. And so there's no reason not to vote, and hopefully folks will go on the webpage. The school district has a webpage. We have an outside political action committee as well that's headed up by Sheriff Mascara. And but if they go on the district's webpage, they can get information. They can contact us as well. We've been out speaking to everybody because we want to educate. We want to answer the questions. We want folks to make sure that they have all the information that they need to make an informed decision.
So it's likely to arrive in your mailbox on or around April 3rd next week.
Correct.
And how will people recognize it? Will it be obviously recognizable, or is it something you're going to think, oh, it's just something else that somebody's sending me in the mail?
I think you'll see the return address in the supervisor of elections, and it's in a white. I'm pretty sure it's a white envelope, and you'll see it, and it's bigger than normal ones, and so it'll
stick out.
It'll deliver. It'll be right there, a Thursday or Friday. We'll have a couple phone calls. that will go out to the different groups. The Political Action Committee is doing some things, and then we're sending some information out as well, and informing parents as when they're driving through school and picking the children up that this is coming up. Look for it, and then make an informed decision.
And so if people have any questions, once it arrives in the mailbox, they can contact the school
Yeah, and
district.
if it's about or they can contact the Supervisor of Elections office directly.
Okay.
Either one. If it's an elections question, contact them. If it's a question about what is this all about, I got a call the other day from someone in the service because they've already been mailed out to service members. And that was a former student who had graduated, and so I was able to explain to him, what this was. He was a graduate at one of our high schools, and he was, and so I was able to educate him and say this is what it's about, and so then he had the opportunity to make an informed decision.
So bottom line, our schools in St. Lucie County are on a path to success. You've had major improvements in learning gains, and this will only help to make those gains stronger and continue. And again, the ways that referendum 4 will help are through the teacher salaries, not bonuses, which is a different thing.
Well, what it will really
salaries.
be, it will really be a supplemental bonus that the teachers will receive each year. So for those 4 years, let's say you're in a category of $5,000 a year, then you're going to get $5,000 each year, or $20,000.
But I mean, it's not a one-time thing.
No,
it's
exactly. And so that'll happen. It'll be safety of our schools. It'll be for the mental health piece. It'll be overseen by an independent oversight committee. It's really about, again, the better schools equal better communities, or the better communities equal better schools. It's really a community issue that benefits our most precious natural resource, which is our youngest children and our young people in our schools.
So true. Wayne Gent, the superintendent of St. Lucie Schools, has been our guest today. And don't go away. We're going to take a short break. We're going to have Jane Whittaker here talking about some of the schools in St. Lucie County that are making some more positive changes, and you'll hear more about that in a little bit. Thank you, Mr. Gent, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And we'll be back in just a few minutes with more. Well, you just heard the first part of the show with Mr. Wayne Gent. The superintendent was talking about referendum 4 that's coming to your mailbox. And so it's really an easy segue to talk to Jane Whittaker, whose title is now Coordinator of Curriculum for the Office of Teaching and Learning for St. Lucie Schools. And what that means, Jane, is that you get to be on the front line for planning what schools are going to do for programs, correct?
Exactly. And really enjoying this new role and working very closely with the 3 magnet schools that were part of the Magnet School Assistance Program grant we got back in 2017.
And we actually had you on the show here shortly after you received that grant, because step 1 with that grant money was the refurbishing and reprogramming, so to speak, of CAST, which was formerly known as Fort Pierce Magnet School of the Arts.
That's right.
And is now CAST and entering its second year.
Second year. So we just started our second year of the grant in October, and just amazing things happening with the Creative Arts Academy as well as Sam Gaines Academy for Emerging Technologies. So both of those schools, our 2 K-8 schools as part of this program, are up and running, and just great things are happening.
So 3 schools were affected by this grant. And when I say affected, I mean positively affected, benefited from this grant.
Right.
And the first one was CAST. And CAST stands for Creative
Arts Academy
of
St. Lucie.
Of St. Lucie.
And we kind of cheated on the acronym a little bit there.
That's okay, because you have to have something people can understand.
Right.
And also CAST is like the cast of a TV show or a Broadway show. And it's all about the performing arts, and a lot of the connections. You have your typical academic classes, and you have math, science, English, and history, but in addition, you have a focus on performing arts and on other arts that contribute to those academic subjects, or you kind of look at those academic subjects through the lens of the arts.
Exactly. And we really focus on what we call arts integration, and a huge part of what this grant really focuses on is how the arts and sciences come together, and then also supporting the STEM initiative, and then what Westwood High School actually kind of brings that culmination together. So where Cass is our art school, Sam Gaines is our STEM school, then Westwood High School has now become our new STEAM magnet, which combines the STEM and the arts together.
Yes, so it's like the best of all worlds.
It really is.
And, just talking for a minute about the importance and the emergence of STEAM, because STEAM is integrating those things, the science, the technology, engineering, arts, and math. And more and more jobs are focused toward those careers.
Right.
And at the same time, you could look down the future, and a lot of the jobs that the kids that are pre-K kindergarten now are going to be taking when they graduate college or graduate high school, they probably haven't even been invented yet.
That's so true.
So
true.
So you're looking at creating education that is going to educate the high school students of the future.
Right. Exactly. And what's really exciting is Westwood High School has been able to implement programs that we don't have available any other high schools throughout the district. So this grant has really brought about some new ideas, some innovative programs, looking at robotics and engineering.
And that is so exciting for students. Yes.
I wish everybody could come and take a tour of our new Fab Lab. That it's going to be, it's functioning and it's up and running, but we kind of have, we're gearing up for a big kickoff to have community members and various people in the area to come and see what our students are doing. So you'll get a chance to get a sneak peek of that here very soon. So we're looking at pharmacy tech, agri-technology, really bringing the technology and the agriculture piece, which is such a big part of
is the wave
St.
of the
Lucie County.
future.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Drone technology, the kids are going to be working with
that. Oh my gosh.
Virtual and augmented reality applications that are part of the instruction that the kids have every day.
Don't you just want to go back to school?
Oh, how many people have said that?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then what's really exciting is the fact that Westwood is considered a one-to-one school, and that means that every student, grades 9 through 12, has a computer. So they're going to be that next level of implementation with technology and really that advanced level coursework that we're going to be able to implement the technology right along with it. So really excited about what's happening.
How soon are we talking?
So everything's going to be fully in place by August of this year. So we've actually got the labs have been refurbished and refreshed and updated. We've been working very closely with some of our professors at Indian River State College and with Florida Polytech, which is a huge technical institute for research in Lakeland. So their professors have been working very closely with us on designing and ensuring that our students are college ready if this is a career that they would decide to go into, future emerging technology careers. There's industry certifications in these areas as well. So, this is ground level where the students can actually, be certified and go right into that, ground level, workforce if they decided to go into a skill right away. So, yeah.
And certainly the colleges that focus on those things are going to be very attracted to the students that are coming out of a high school that focus
exactly
on those needs.
Right.
So with the choice, people can be making the choice now to send their students to Westwood for the programs that you're describing?
They can, and they would actually need to, this is through, because it's part of the Magnet School grant, they would need to complete an application online. So they could go to the stlucieschools.org website, and on our home page, you'll see down to the left, there's it says MSAP, which stands for Magnet Schools Assistance Program, and it'll say Magnet School or MSAP Schools, find out more. And when you click on that, that'll take you to the application page, and you would need your child's 562 number. And if anybody's in the school system, that's just the student ID.
Yes.
Every child should be
Yes.
able to say that by
And
now.
they know it by now.
They do.
Yes.
They do. And then the password for the application is their lunch number. So they would just need those two things in order to submit the application for the school.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so how quickly will the parents know if their student has been accepted into the program?
Now, because Westwood's program is fairly new and will be beginning in the fall, we're extending their application window a little bit longer. For CAST and for Sam Gaines, it just closed on Friday. So parents are finding out the first round of applications have already been notified, and then the second round will be notified, I believe, the first of next week. And then we're looking at the close of the open applications, so that would be at the end of April is what we're looking at.
So for
notifying,
Westwood,
yes,
Westwood, they have till the end of April.
Yeah.
To,
So
to fill that out.
Correct.
And submit that. Is it
right.
completely submittable online?
It is.
So
it is. So
you don't have to go
you
anywhere.
don't have to go to a school. You
Yeah.
can do it right there online now. It used, we're moving into the next century of digital applications, which is awesome, and so that saves parents time. Especially working parents that aren't able to get to the school sites to fill out their applications anymore.
Can
So it works out well.
students move over even if they're not entering ninth grade?
Yes.
If they're at another high school, they can still apply.
Well, what we're doing right now is focusing mainly on the freshman entrance, but there are some opportunities for the upperclassmen programs as well. So we'll be looking at that on a case-to-case basis.
Yeah, especially for if you have a student that is just you don't think that they're in a good fit,
Right.
and you want to make a change, you can still
Still have that opportunity.
to look at that.
Right.
So say the parents or grandparents or neighbors are listening to this radio show and they're hearing about these really cool programs, but you wanted to go online or somewhere and show your kid these programs. Or can they, if they want to, tour some of the school? Is anything up and running where they can tour, or is there anything online that your high school student or incoming student can look at? Because a lot of times, honestly, you and I, that
Yep.
the kids don't believe mom and dad.
Right.
Right. I might go home and say to my kid, you can take robotics at this at this school, and my son 10 years ago would say, yeah, right. But if somebody else told him, or if he saw it online, or if he saw it in person, that he might believe that and be excited about it because it was his idea. Not mine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We know how that works with our
Yes.
teenagers. So right now we're actually working on the marketing program. Westwood just got its new name about 5 weeks ago. So now instead of Westwood High School, it is Westwood Academy. And then
I like it.
the West Prep magnet. So the magnet piece of it is a little tag. So we're still focusing and hanging on to the traditions and history of the school, but also embracing what's coming in the future. So it's really great how the two are coming together. So what we're working on is that marketing piece right now. So we're actually completing a brand new video to give families a sneak peek
That's
of
exactly
what's
what
happening,
I was looking for.
what's
Yeah.
happening in the programs, and hear some of the administrators. But the best selling point for us is the students, and so we have several students that'll be talking in the video and sharing their experience at West Prep. So we have to teach ourselves to quit saying Westwood and saying West Prep. And the West actually stands for Westwood Engineering, Science, and Technology Prep magnet. So
somebody was doing a
Yes.
lot of looking things up.
yeah, we were. So we're working on the video right now, and then we're also working on marketing materials so that when we're out at events, that families and students can get a real quick snapshot of, the digital piece, but also, seeing it on paper, and seeing the various programs and things like that. So we'll have lots of opportunities for families to see the changes that are happening. And then we'll have open houses that we'll be offering as well, school tours. Those haven't been set up yet, as we're working on some renovations and just beautifying some of the areas that we really want to showcase at the schools. So we're working on that right now.
So where will parents be able to find that information when it's ready?
So what you would do is actually go back to the stlucieschools.org, and if you click on the MSAP program again, those videos will be available right above the application link.
So you'll be able to check them out right there.
Yes.
How about the traditional programs that Westwood has had in the past that are popular, like the veterinary program, Vet Tech, and MOA? Will those programs remain with the school?
Absolutely, and those are really key to our recruitment, and two of our strongest programs at West Prep. MOA actually, even though it's working closely with Harbor Branch and with Florida Atlantic, their programs are actually being enhanced. Their lab equipment and things we're able to enhance those through the grant. And then Vet Tech is a huge component of the grant. We're refurbishing their lab and their surgery area, and their program is being enhanced and refreshed a little bit with this. So it's just going to be bigger and better.
So there'll be a lot more opportunity for people and students who are already going through those programs, going into those programs, and students that are already at Westwood, which will now be West Prep.
Right.
And if they're already in 10th, 11th, 12th grade, they're going to also get the advantage of the enhancements as well.
Yes.
It all sounds very exciting, and it all sounds like something that is so futuristic, but it's not. It's something that is high tech and here today,
right?
Really, or maybe tomorrow.
Yeah,
depending on the video.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, how do people find out? You other than going online, is there any other way? You said you're going to have some open house type events. When are they going to be?
So those aren't scheduled as of yet, but those will be available on the website. So we'll be sure and share those. Anytime that we have events coming up, one of the things that we do is often do a mailing. So families will be notified of events coming up through the various mailing postcards that we do. And then we also do the Connect Ed. We all get those robocalls, occasionally, filling in. So
I kind of miss those.
I bet you do. I bet you do. So anyway, we utilize that as well. So when events are happening, that's always a great opportunity to connect families to ensure that they get the information. And then we're actually out at various events throughout the community. So we just finished the week at the St. Lucie County Fair. We were out there and met a lot of families. We'll be part of the Safety Fest that's coming up at the Met Stadium. I believe that's in April. But various events throughout the summer that we'll be, out there meeting and talking with families, and, they can always come out to events and talk to us then.
And watching for more information.
Right.
One last question is about recruiting teachers in those specific needs. Are you using teachers that you already had within the system and training them, or are you recruiting teachers that might be professionals in the community that are coming in and teaching their expertise?
So a little bit of both. That's a great question. And, especially with Mr. Gent just talking about the referendum with you and about how important it is for us to retain our high quality teachers here. And we've got some amazing educators, in all of our schools. But we definitely are looking for very focused content areas of expertise. When you're looking for a design challenge teacher at Sam Gaines, you've got to have background in technology, but you need experience in engineering and math and sciences. So, we're looking for well-qualified, highly motivated and excited about teaching and, coming in and making a change in these amazing schools. So.
And of course, as you mentioned at the beginning of this part of the show, the wave of the future has been STEM for a while, and now STEAM, incorporating the arts as part of the needs. And it's great that the kids, I shouldn't say the kids, the students, because kid kind of makes it sound like they're young.
Yeah.
Yeah. That especially because when students start to enter 9th, 10th grade, their interest in academics has a tendency to fall off a little bit. They're not as inspired by, say, math or English as they used to be. But if you were able to infuse that with something that they can make a connection to, make that real life connection and see how that is going to make a difference in their life, then you got them hooked again, and they're going to be going to school and wanting
to go to school. Yeah, exactly.
It's not easy to get up in the morning and go to school.
Yeah.
So you need to have that enhancement, that special offering to the students and get them to have the buy-in. Jane Whittaker's been my guest, and we've been talking about the magnet schools that had the mini grants, and Westwood, which is now going to become West Prep, is the latest of the changes that are being made. But you can find out all about it through the St. Lucie County Schools website, and then get more information as you need it. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
And
great.
We'll see you next week with more. Have a great day.
The Sue Ellen Sanders Show. Archives of the show are on YouTube at WPSLTV.com. Every Friday night at 6:05 p.m., tune in for the Sue Ellen Sanders Show right here on WPSL Digital 1590, the talk of the Treasure Coast.